while back, I took a road I almost skipped. No big sign, no hype, just one of those California turnoffs that feels like it probably leads nowhere. 20 minutes later, I was in a town with old storefronts, cold river air, mountain light, and the weird feeling that I had stumbled into a version of California people forgot to market. And that's really what this video is about. Not the usual names, not the polished brochure stops. I'm talking about the places that make you slow down and think, wait, people can actually live like this? If that's your kind of discovery, stick with me. And yeah, subscribe, because the deeper you go in this state, the better it gets. Number 10, 29 Palms. 29 Palms opens this list with a surprise a lot of people don't see coming. You can still find homes here under $250,000, with Zillow's average home value around $252,382, in a desert town sitting right next to one of the most cinematic landscapes in Southern California. That alone gets my attention. Most people file this place under Joshua Tree Gateway and keep driving. I think that's a mistake. Zillow home values. Zillow under $250,000. Because once you slow down, 29 Palms starts feeling less like a pass-through and more like a town people have deliberately shaped into something personal. The modern town came together in the early 20th century, but the warmer part of its story is newer. In the 1990s, locals started turning walls into murals, and those murals didn't just make the town prettier, they helped pull pride back into the place. Now the oasis of murals gives the whole town this artsy, slightly offbeat heartbeat that softens the desert edge. Historic 29 Oasis of Murals. And listen, daily life here isn't for everybody. Summer can be punishing. The landscape is stark. The military base shapes the rhythm in ways some people will love and some won't. But if you're the kind of person who likes giant skies, quiet mornings, weird beauty, and that copper-colored evening light that makes the whole desert glow like it's lit from underneath, this place starts making emotional sense very fast. I can absolutely see why artists and remote workers end up here longer than they planned. There's room to think. That matters. At sunset, the buildings go low and golden, the murals catch the last light, and the horizon just keeps going. It feels unfinished in a good way, like there's still space here for a different life. And if that kind of open silence speaks to you, wait until the next town, because it trades desert light for mountain air. Visit 29 Palms. Number 9. Quincy. Quincy is one of those towns that makes you wonder why people spend a fortune chasing mountain lifestyles somewhere flashier. Zillow's average home value here has been about $322,957, and recent listings have ranged from roughly the mid $100,000 into the $300,000 and low $400,000. For a historic Sierra town with a real downtown and serious outdoor access, that's not nothing. Zillow home values. Zillow, Quincy, Zillow houses. What I like about Quincy is that it doesn't feel like a stage set for visitors. It feels lived in. The post office dates back to 1852. The town was officially recognized in 1858, and over time, it grew from gold rush beginnings into the practical, slightly proud heart of Plumas County. That history still shows up in the bones of the place. Old storefronts, courthouse town energy, and a downtown you can actually walk without it feeling performative. Greenhorn Ranch history. Quincy Chamber live here, but the real charm is the daily rhythm. You can grab coffee, wander past hanging flower baskets, hear there's live music somewhere later, and then drive 10 minutes and be in the middle of pine country or heading toward Bucks Lake. That's the part these bigger destination towns lose. Quincy still lets nature feel close and ordinary, not curated, just there. I'll be honest, this is exactly the kind of place families and retirees quietly fall for because life looks manageable here. It's also got a playful streak. Groundhog Fever Festival, Sparkle in December, local events that sound just eccentric enough to tell you the town hasn't gone sterile. And that counts for a lot. Next up, we're heading into a place that feels even more remote, and somehow even more luxurious because of it. Plumas County, Quincy Chamber. Number 8, Borrego Springs. Borrego Springs doesn't look affordable in the way most people picture affordable. It looks like a desert resort dream. That's why the numbers matter. Zillow's average home value has been about $358,588, and recent listings have shown homes around $199,900, $299,000, and into the $500,000. In California terms, for a place this visually dramatic, that still lands as surprisingly reachable. Zillow Home Values, Zillow Borrego Springs, Zillow Houses. Now, here's the thing. Borrego Springs isn't selling bustle, it's selling absence. No big box stores, no traffic signals, very little visual noise, just palms, open roads, mountain walls in the distance, and some of the darkest skies in California. It's one of the few international dark sky communities in the world, which sounds like a brochure line until you imagine stepping outside at night and actually seeing stars the way people used to see them. That kind of darkness changes the mood of a place. It slows your breathing down. Dark Sky International, Borrego Springs Chamber. The modern town really took shape after 1946, when developers began shaping the valley into a desert retreat. And honestly, you can still feel that old California idea here. Not glitzy, not loud, just clean lines, golf greens, mountain views, and long afternoons where nobody seems in a hurry. The trade-off, of course, is the heat. Summer here is serious, and the remoteness can either feel like freedom or inconvenience, depending on the kind of person you are. Me? I get it, I really do. There's something seductive about a place that protects silence this hard. But the next town goes in the opposite direction, older, greener, and so cinematic it almost feels fake. A BDNNH. History San Diego History Center. Number 7. Sutter Creek. Sutter Creek feels like somebody built a Gold Rush movie set and then forgot to take it down for 170 years. But unlike a movie set, people actually live here, drink wine here, walk these sidewalks, and buy homes here in the high $300,000 to low $600,000, with realtors' median listing price around $440,900. For a town this intact, that's a very real part of the appeal. Zillow Sutter, Creek Realtor. Its story starts right where California mythology gets strongest. John Sutter came through here in 1848, and after gold quartz was discovered in 1851, the town took on permanent life. I love the detail that one early gathering place was just a cloth tent where miners met on rainy Sundays because they couldn't get to nearby towns. Wait, let me back up. That little image might be my favorite thing about Sutter Creek, because it reminds you that communities don't begin with branding. They begin with weather, inconvenience, and people wanting to be together. City of Sutter Creek history. Today, you feel that continuity in the brick storefronts, the balconies, the old industrial muscle of Night Foundry, and the way the whole main street still seems comfortable in its own skin. This is the town for people who want charm but don't want pretend charm. It's slower, yes, but not sleepy. There's wine country energy around it now, which gives it a little glow without sanding off the rough edges. I could see myself here on a late fall afternoon, just walking with no destination, hearing a screen door shut somewhere behind me and catching that warm foothill light on old stone walls. That's the trick with Sutter Creek. It doesn't scream for your attention. It just keeps getting better the longer you look. And the next place on this list, it has that same gold country soul, but with even more romance. Night Foundry, Sutter Creek Tourism. Number 6, Murphy's. Murphy's is dangerous, and I mean that in the best way. It's the kind of place where you stop for a tasting room and somehow end up looking at real estate by dinner. Realtor has shown a median listing price around $489,000, while Zillow's average home value has been about $481,686, with visible listings from the mid $300,000 up toward a million. So, no, it's not the cheapest town here, but wow, does it know how to sell a life? Realtor Zillow, Home Values. Zillow Murphy's came alive in 1848 when John and Daniel Murphy set up a trading post and gold operation here. By 1852, the place had roughly 3,000 people, and somehow, instead of fading into a dusty relic, it evolved into this polished little foothill town where gold rush stone walls, white picket fences, live music, and wine tasting all coexist on the same stretch of road. That should feel contrived. It doesn't. It feels oddly natural. Murphy's history. What nobody really tells you is that Murphy's has momentum. You can feel it. Main Street isn't just pretty. It has social gravity. There are galleries, restaurants, inns, theater, and enough life in the air that even a lazy afternoon feels like it might turn into something. Honestly, if you want a California small town that still has a pulse after dark, Murphy's is one of the strongest candidates on this whole list. And before we go any farther, quick thing, the next few towns get even prettier and in a couple cases, even more surprising on price. So if you haven't subscribed yet, now's the moment. Because the number one town, I'm telling you right now, it sounds made up until you see the numbers. Number 5, Julian. Julian is what happens when Southern California accidentally remembers it has seasons. Real ones. Apples in the fall, snow in winter, flowering hills in spring, cool stargazing nights in summer. And somehow, this old mountain town still sits only about an hour from San Diego, with recent home listings ranging from roughly $235,000 into the $595,000 to $649,000 range, and a realtor median listing price around $397,000. That contrast alone makes Julian unforgettable. Julian Zillow houses realtor. Its modern story began with gold discovered in 1869, kicking off San Diego County's first and only gold rush in 1870. But what gives Julian its emotional depth is what happened after the mining rush cooled. People stayed, they farmed, they figured out the rich mountain land was perfect for apples, and by 1907, Julian apples were winning awards all the way in Virginia. That pivot from Gold Town to Orchard Town is exactly why this place doesn't feel frozen in costume. It kept going. Visit Julian. And that ongoing life is what you feel when you're there. Wooden storefronts, pie shops, cider, cold air sliding down the mountain in the evening, a road that bends, then suddenly gives you a little view of town and makes you think, yeah, I get why people never fully leave this place behind. I really mean that. Julian gets under your skin in a soft way. Even the old cemetery on the hill adds something gentle instead of heavy, a sense that generations actually passed through here and left the town better anchored. Next, we go north, way north, and the next town feels like California history, and mountain stillness got folded together by hand. Visit Julian. Number 4, McLeod. McLeod is where this countdown starts getting a little ridiculous. Zillow's average home value has been about $294,402, and recent listings have shown homes around $85,500, $165,000, $199,000, $258,000, and just under $300,000 in a historic Northern California mountain town with access to waterfalls and Mount Shasta country. I mean, come on, that's exactly the kind of number that makes people start rethinking their whole situation. Zillow Home Values, Zillow McLeod. Zillow Houses. McLeod really came together in 1895 as a lumber company town tied to the railroad, and its historic district still carries that origin beautifully. Not prettified, beautifully. 17 landmark buildings, broad streets, old wood, mountain weather, and the feeling that the town was built for work first and accidentally became photogenic later. That's usually the best kind of pretty anyway. McLeod Chamber discovers Siskiyou. My favorite detail here is the old local memory of Mother McLeod. The company's so embedded in daily life that if your faucet leaked or a light burned out, you just called and somebody came. That's not an argument for company towns, obviously, but it is one of those little stories that makes a place feel intimate, almost family-sized in retrospect, and the intimacy is still there in a different form now. Cold mornings, pine smell, a quiet street, a short drive ending at a waterfall or a snow view. It's the kind of place where the air alone feels like a reset. Now, if McLeod feels like a hidden classic, the next town feels almost unreal, like somebody preserved an entire century and then set it down near the coast. Visit California. Number 3, Ferndale. Ferndale doesn't just look old, it looks protected, like time got politely turned away at the edge of town. This is California's Victorian village, and while it's pricier than the bargain entries on this list, that's part of the shock. Zillow's average home value has been about $492,146, and in-town homes have recently shown up in the mid $500,000 into the $700,000. By coastal California standards, for a place this visually exact, that still feels more possible than people expect. Visit Humboldt Zillow Home Values Zillow. Newest founded in 1852, Ferndale grew rich on dairy, and that dairy money is what built the elaborate homes and storefronts that still line town today. I love that there was once a nickname for some of these decorative homes, butterfat palaces. That's such a California phrase. Prosperity, but make it ornate, and somehow the town has held on to that elegance without tipping into preciousness. History of Ferndale. Visit Redwoods Walk, Main Street, and its lampposts, candy shops, old saloons, museums, and those trim facades that really do make you feel like you've wandered into a period film. But then, and this is the part that really gets me, you're only blocks from Russ Park with its Sitka spruce forest or a short drive from the beach and the Lost Coast headlands. That combo is almost unfair. Victorian detail on one side, coastal wind, and open landscape on the other. I'll say it plainly, Ferndale is one of the most visually seductive towns in California. Not the cheapest, maybe not the easiest, but unforgettable. And the town coming next might be the best bargain of the entire video relative to how much soul it carries. Visit Humboldt, visit Ferndale. Number 2, Weaverville. Weaverville is the kind of town people remember in pieces first. The blue face of the temple, the old storefronts, the valley light, the mountain calm. Then the numbers sink in. Zillow's average home value has been about $292,630, and recent listings have ranged from around $195,000 through the $200,000 low $300,000 and up toward $475,000. For California, especially California with this much character, that's a serious statement. Zillow Home Values, Zillow. Weaverville Zillow houses. Founded in 1850 during the gold rush, Weaverville became one of Trinity County's central mining towns, but what sets it apart now is deeper than Old Western charm. At the center of town stands the current Joss House, built in 1874 after earlier fires, and still recognized as the oldest continuously used Chinese temple in California. That's not trivia. That changes the emotional weight of the whole place. It gives Weaverville a layered, human history that a lot of pretty towns simply don't have. Visit Trinity, California state parks, and somehow, despite that significance, the town still feels humble. You can picture a quiet morning here so easily, coffee in hand, light hitting the old buildings, a river or trail not far away, mountains holding the edges of town in place. It doesn't feel flashy, it feels grounded. That may be why I keep coming back to it in my head. Some towns impress you, others make you imagine a routine. Weaverville does the second thing. Then there's the lion dance tradition at the temple during Chinese New Year and again on 4th of July weekend. That detail alone tells you this isn't a museum piece, it's lived history. And yet, somehow, it's still not the number one town because the last place on this list brings together affordability, scenery, and pure start over energy in a way that almost shouldn't be real. Trinity Place's walking tour. Number 1, Dunsmuir. Dunsmuir is the payoff because it delivers the craziest sentence in this whole video without any exaggeration. There is a real Northern California town that officially calls itself home of the best water on earth, and California's city of waterfalls has no stoplights, sits beside a trout-filled river, and Zillow has put its average home value at about $239,539. Recent listings have shown homes around $100,000, $189,000, $248,000, $339,000, and just under $390,000. In California, that's not a fantasy, that's Dunsmuir. City of Dunsmuir, Zillow Home, Values, Zillow Dunsmuir. And once you get past the shock of the numbers, the mood of the place is what really wins you over. Dunsmuir sits in a canyon with wooded slopes rising around it, the upper Sacramento River moving through town, and a whole world of waterfalls in the surrounding country. The official town language leans into that simpler life fantasy. No parking meters, no traffic, fewer worries, and for once it doesn't read like empty marketing copy. It feels close to the truth, or close enough that you want to believe it. I do. Anyway, City of Dunsmuir, visit California. Its railroad backbone matters too. The town emerged in its current form around 1887 when the grade and terrain made this a natural rail point, and early on it was known as Pusher. I love that. It tells you Dunsmuir wasn't born as a cute getaway. It was functional, tough, useful. Then, over time, all that grit ended up framed by river water, mountain light, and the kind of old-fashioned downtown that makes modern life feel louder than it needs to be. Railroad Park History. Here's the scene I keep seeing. Early morning, cold enough for a jacket, river air with that mineral, almost metallic freshness to it, a storefront opening for the day. Somebody actually smiles at you on the sidewalk. No rush, no signal turning red, no 10-lane reminder that half the state is stressed out. Just a narrow little town carrying on beside running water. That's powerful. That's the dream, really. Not luxury, but relief. Now, to be fair, Dunsmuir isn't magic. It's remote. Job options are limited. You need to be realistic about rural services and the trade-offs that come with small-town Northern California. But that honesty is exactly why the town lands so hard for me. Even after you factor in the compromises, the ratio still feels almost absurd. Beauty to price, peace to price, character to price. I don't know if there's a stronger one in the state, and maybe that's why Dunsmuir sticks. It doesn't feel like a place people move to in order to impress anyone. It feels like a place people move to because they're tired, because they want air and water and quiet, because they want to hear themselves think again. Honestly, if you showed me a small house here near the river and told me there was a coffee shop down the street and a waterfall trail 10 minutes away, I'd have a hard time saying no. I really would. That's what makes it the right number one. Not just that it's beautiful, not just that it's cheap by California standards, but that it feels livable in a way so many famous towns don't. Dunsmuir doesn't ask you to perform a dream. It lets you step into one. Realtor, visit Dunsmuir. If even one of these places made you stop and picture a different life, tell me which one in the comments. Was it the dark skies in Borrego Springs? The old world streets of Ferndale? The river and waterfall pull of Dunsmuir? Share this with the one person you'd actually disappear there with, because that's the real test. And if you want more towns that feel like a secret door inside America, the subscribe button is right there. You know what to do. I'll be down in the comments, and I genuinely want to know which town stole your heart. For me, I can still hear that river in Dunsmuir. That's a hard sound to shake,